Trump is big mad right now, and he's big mad about almost everything. You say he's always mad. Well, yeah, he is always mad, but this time he's not just mad about his bombing run. He's mad about the reporting. He's mad about the leaking. He's mad at Israel. He's mad at Iran. He's mad at everybody. He's mad at reporters. Hell, man, he's probably mad at his goddamn suit. Anyway, everybody's already probably seen this clip by now. Let's take a look. See, this is Donald Trump on the White House lawn, pissed off and dropping F-bombs.
Pathetic disgrace.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when
I got to save that for a clip. Just the biggest load we have ever seen. Actually, the biggest load that we've ever seen was in Lindsey Graham's pants when we dropped the bombs on the nuke site. It was an explosion, folks, and he had to change his shorts.
Okay, now you have 12 hours. You don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Yeah, man, I get it. I get it. Hold on. Let's do a quick recap, okay? There was a supposed peace deal, and with Iran, Donald Trump wanted to basically do a redo of the peace deal that Barack Obama did in 2015, except this time he wanted to slap his name on it. Okay, now that was the rumor, that's what was going around, and that's what Donald Trump was saying, but turns out that it seems a lot more, likely that it was just a distraction because Israel decided to bomb before the peace talks could happen. Now, there have been peace talks going on for 60 days. I mean, giving an arbitrary time of 60 days to have peace talks, and on the 61st day, I'm just done with you, it's childlike thinking. Let's just be honest. That's what children do. But at the same time, Israel does not want this peace thing to go through either, and including a shitload of American neocons. They are just dying to drop bombs, including Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and all the likes. Anyway, so Israel bombs first, preemptively. So that's them breaking the law. And they kill the guy who was actually doing the negotiating, along with a lot of citizens and some houses, and then they said they hit some military targets, but civilians got killed as well. So not great. Anyway, Donald Trump decides to do his stealth bomber bombing, dropping peace bombs on those nuclear sites. And let's take a look at this right here. This is actually, let's watch this one first. If I can get my goddamn cursor to do what it's supposed to do. This is some intel that's been coming out about the bomb raid that Trump did, and it does not look like that they were actually able to get the sites, or either that, or back in March, Donald Trump was talking about bombing Israel. And a lot of intel people are saying right now that Trump and Netanyahu are all about regime change in Iran. They call it Operation Rising Lion. And if I'm not mistaken, the Rising Lion aspect of it that's got something to do with putting the Shah's son into power in Iran. If you remember, the Shah was who we put in power who ruled like a dictator in Iran, getting rid of their democratically elected leader Mossadegh, who wanted to nationalize the oil. And we sent in CIA and MI6, and they killed him. They arrested him, they took him out, and they killed him. And then they put the Shah back into power, and then after 25 years, the people up, they rose up and they kicked him out, and they replaced him with a fundamentalist cleric, the Ayatollah Khomeini, and that guy has been in charge ever since. And since March of this year, Donald Trump is talking about doing regime change and bombing Iran and bombing those nuclear facilities. So at that point, I think that was when Iran was like, okay, well, we got to move all this shit out of the nuclear site that Donald Trump knows about and move it somewhere else. So it is very distinctively possible that he did not hit anything. Now, look, I'm going to preface this, but all of this by saying this. If we got to tell Donald Trump that he was a big boy and he's a brave boy and he got him, and that means that the war's over and it's actually just a 12-day war and it's over, great, awesome. I'd much rather him not do any more bombing, but at the same time, a lot of intel is coming out and they're saying stuff like this.
According to an early U.S. intelligence assessment, the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back a few months.
That's right. So this is an assessment that actually is out from the Defense Intelligence Agency. That is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it was based on a battle damage assessment conducted by U.S. CENTCOM after the strikes, according to one of the sources. Let's go to CNN national security correspondent Natasha Bertrand, who has this exclusive new reporting. This is to that question that has been asked about how much damage has been done. This is a real question. It's also a political question that has been to something that Donald Trump has been sort of dealing with here recently. What are you learning, Natasha?
Yeah, look, Brianna, this is the first assessment that we are getting that the U.S. intelligence community has found about the battle damage that resulted from those U.S. military strikes on these 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. And as you said, it was produced by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it is worth noting that it is a very early assessment. The strikes were only a matter of days ago, and the intelligence community is still gathering intelligence. They are still working to come up with a full, comprehensive picture.
You look at the before and after pictures of this site, and honestly, it just looks like a mountain, like a desert mountain out in the middle of nowhere. And I don't know if they're going to show you in this clip, but they're, the before and after the dozen bunker buster, 30,000 pound bunker busters that they went into the earth and blew shit up. It looks very similar. I mean, there's not a lot of structures out there, and I know it's supposed to go down there and blow up everything, but, like I said, Intel is already talking about they already moved that nuclear material out of there, back in March, so...
of what exactly happened here, but
See?
based
Look at the difference.
on a battle damage assessment that was carried out by U.S. Central Command, essentially looking at the images and looking at what was actually damaged, the Defense Intelligence Agency has assessed that the core components of Iran's nuclear program are largely intact, and that Iran's nuclear program has essentially only been set back by months. Now, we presented this information to the White House for comment, and White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, she did acknowledge the existence of this assessment, but she said in a statement that the administration disagrees with it. She said, quote, "This alleged assessment is flat out wrong and was classified as top secret, but was still leaked to CNN by an anonymous low-level loser in the intelligence community. The leaking of this alleged..."
Come on, man. What do you just hang out with Donald Trump for like 20 minutes and the next thing you know, you talk just like him, a low-level loser in the leaking. This alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean me and discredit the brave pilots and fighters. No, honey, we're not. Nobody's talking about the fucking fighters. I'm sure that they dropped their bombs beautifully and they hit their targets, and congratulations. Wow. It was Top Gun reborn. You got Maverick out there going over the mountain and dropping them in, and he got them all off. And I'm sure those guys are fucking amazing pilots. Nobody is talking about that. People are talking about the decision to actually drop the bomb. And that was not the pilots or the brave soldiers or whatever.
Assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted a perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets, total obliteration. Now, it is worth noting here that there has been dissent, I should say, within the intelligence community, within the defense community about just how much of an impact these massive bunker buster bombs would actually have on Iran's nuclear facilities. It was far from certain, given that these bombs had never been tested in an actual combat scenario, whether they would actually penetrate those very, very deep underground tunnels that lie underneath these nuclear facilities. And what we are told is that as of now, this Defense Intelligence Agency assessment, it does conclude at this point, again, it is still very early, that those underground facilities, including the centrifuges, including the highly enriched uranium that everyone has been talking so much about, those are largely intact. Now, of course, this does stand at odds with what President Donald Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth have been saying in recent days about the impact of these U.S. military strikes. Of course, President Trump said it was totally obliterated, and Secretary Hegseth did as well. And he actually also provided CNN with a statement. And he said that, quote, based on everything we have seen, and I've seen it all, our bombing campaign obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons.
Boy, they love that word, obliterate. I mean, did that one come from on high, or was that the word of the day calendar in the Oval Office, and now everybody's got to say the word obliterate?
Bombs hit exactly the right spot at each target and worked perfectly. The impact of those bombs is buried under a mountain of rubble in Iran. So anyone who says the bombs were not devastating is just trying to undermine the president and the successful mission. Now,
honey, nobody is saying that the bombs weren't dropped perfectly, or that the pilots were not good at their job, or, that dropping 14 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs, that's a tongue twister, is not going to be devastating. Of course it's fucking devastating. Gee willikers. But, I mean, the intel, it doesn't matter. I say we just give Donald Trump this one. Let's just let him have it. He won. You won the war. It's a 12-day war. We're in. We're out. We're good. Right? Right?
our sources did emphasize here that there was severe damage that was done largely to the above ground structures at these nuclear sites. And so there was damage done, of course, by these massive bombs. But the core components of the nuclear program, we are told, they are largely intact, and it only set the program back by a matter of months. Boris, Brianna.
All right, so now we got a little bit more on that. U.S. military strikes of 3 Iranian nuclear facilities last week did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set back by months. So the DIA assessment is that the U.S. set them back maybe a few months tops, this person added. Let's see if there's any more quotes. I mean, they're basically saying the same stuff here. Now, this is Donald Trump. He is at NATO or at some NATO summit, and he's throwing a little tanty. Donald Trump does not like to be asked questions. Why can't you ask me about my golf game? Why can't you ask me about how beautiful my hair is? Why can't you just make comments that I am wonderful and that I am America's Kim Jong-un? You guys are awful, you're trash, you're garbage, and I hate you. I hate you so much. You make me feel sad.
Right now.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
If the Iranians do rebuild, would the United States...
If they rebuild?
Would the United States strike again? And I have also
Sure.
a question about Russia.
But I'm not going to have to worry about that. It's gone for years. It's very tough to rebuild because the whole thing is collapsed. In other words, inside, it's all collapsed. Nobody can get in to see it because it's collapsed. You can't go in to see a room that has, 10 million tons of rock in it. And the tunnels
Wait,
are totally
did he say,
collapsed.
come on, man?
Well, they've already...
10 million tons of rock! We're rocking politics over here, hell yeah.
The tunnels. This was an unbelievable hit by genius pilots and genius people in the military, and they're not being given credit for it because we have scum that's in this group.
Yet again, doing the same thing. Same thing that they did during the Iraq War. If you are against the war, then you hate the troops. You're just spitting on the troops. honestly, sending them to that bullshit war is you spitting on them. Them coming home without limbs or shell shock or, PTSD. That's you having spit on them. You sending them off to a war of choice is absolute bullshit. That's you spitting on them. Give me a break, man.
And not all of you are. You had some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum.
They're scum.
New York Times is scum.
Fake
They're
news.
bad people. They're sick. And what they've done is they're trying to make this unbelievable victory into something less. Now, even they admit that it was hit very hard, okay? But it wasn't hit hard. It was hit brutally, and it knocked it out.
There's a
original word
difference.
that I use, I guess it got us in trouble because it's a strong word. It was obliteration.
No, honey, they're not giving you a hard time for you using the word obliterate. It's that everybody in your cabinet keeps using the word because it sounds like they got the message from on high. It wasn't just bad, it was obliterated. I got it on my word of day calendar right here on my desk. Everybody's got to learn this word, and I love it so much. It's the best word, and we have the best words in the Trump administration, and everybody's got to use the same words that I do. Obliterate, say it, goddammit, obliterate.
See that, and it's going to come out. Israel is doing a report on it now. I understand.
Oh, I trust
And
that
was
report.
told that they said it was total obliteration. They have guys that go in there after.
I thought it was under rubble and rock and you can't get in there, but they're going to say, okay, whatever, man. Like I said, I say we just give him the win. I say we give him the win. This is BBC. The U.S. strike on nuclear facilities did not destroy the country's nuclear program, probably only set it back months. According to early Pentagon intelligence assessments of the attack, the Islamic Republic's stockpile of enriched uranium was not eliminated on Saturday's bombing. Sources familiar with the Defense Intelligence Agency Evaluate told the BBC U.S. partner CBS. The White House said the flat-out wrong assessment was leaked by a low-level loser in the intelligence community. You sure that's, you're not talking about Pete Hegseth? I took his phone away from him. God damn it, he did not leak this one. Donald Trump again declared that nuclear sites in Iran completely destroyed and obliterated, and accused the media of attempting to demean one of the most successful military strikes in history, the likes of which we have never seen. U.S. has 18 intelligence agencies which sometimes produce conflicting reports based on their mission and area of expertise. For example, American intelligence. Okay, we're just going to go off on that. But anyway, it seems like it's not just one source that's going through this. Now, by the way, I love hipster Goebbels, Stephen Miller, and this is him touting the virtues of the bombing, and I just love the fact that he has absolutely no charisma whatsoever. He is devoid of riz. Let's feel it.
Miller saying we should all be praying at the altar of Trump.
Well, let's just take a moment to think about how historic this moment is and what President Trump has achieved in this 12-day war. Presidents going back to Bill Clinton have said it is the policy of the U.S. government not to allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. But under every president except Trump, Iran marched closer and closer to being able to put onto a ballistic missile a nuclear warhead that could take out an entire city. That has been the direction Iran has been going in.
Look out, St. Louis.
President Trump took action flawlessly through the United States military to obliterate
there's that word again.
Nuclear sites.
Now, by the way,
come on, man. Come on. The president's penis is so large, and he is amazing and has the biggest brain that we have ever seen. Trust me, I know. I have been in his presence. He is God to me. And the fact that he is able to comb all of his hair around his head that way, I am so jealous and so in awe of him. And I want him to teach me the ways. Did I see a migrant outside cutting the grass? Arrest him! Anyway. Look, I say let him have it. Let Donald Trump have his 12-day war. He's already printed out the T-shirts. We can't have him sending those T-shirts off to some poor African nation like, you know, the losers of the last Super Bowl. They all think that the other team won because they get the shirts that said that they won. And that's what I'd say Donald Trump, he's already marketed his 12-day war. Let's just let him have it. Let him have the win. That way he will stop bombing. Of course, Israel will not stop bombing. And I guarantee you, Netanyahu will do everything he can to fuck shit up, to ensure that Donald Trump needs to go, Mr. President, you are very strong, but a rising lion is not done, and we need more bombs, more death, more destruction. Please, Mr. President, please. Netanyahu is going to do some fuckery yet again, and he will not stop bombing, even though that there's supposed to be a ceasefire, and Donald Trump was really pissed about it when he said, I mean, the fact that he just... They're bombing each other. He's bombing Iran. Everybody is bombing. And then Donald Trump is like, you know, he just woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, yo, I'm tired. I'm done with the bombing. Let's just end it right now. And, you know, and Iran's like, oh, shit, I just shot one. Sorry, I didn't get the memo. And then Israel gets really fucking pissed off and drops like, I don't know, like 12 to 20 more bombs. And that's what Donald Trump was like. They dropped the biggest load. So he just, on a whim, puts out on Truth Social, let it be known that there is a ceasefire and that is the end of the 12-day war. I've already marketed it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And make sure you put the stapler back when you finish using it. He just sounds like some cubicle bitch who's got a little bit too much power at the office. Oh my God. Anyway, I say let him have it. Let him have his win. And, you know, maybe we'll have less bombing. But, you know, unfortunately, we all know how this works. And Netanyahu is really excited. And we've got a lot of bloodthirsty neocons who are just itching for war. They really want this thing to pop off. And by the way, the entirety of the country is against bombing, except for MAGA. Go figure. The ones that were like, he's never going to start a new war. He's never going to start a new war. But hey, I trust the president. And when he starts a new war, it's a good one. Anyway, let's hope that whatever that shit was placates him for a little while. Maybe he will move on to something else. You know, he's got the mind of a goldfish. So you never can tell. He might, you know, go back to talking about the Golden Dome or, you know, or going in after and getting migrants that are working in a meat packing factory. Not that that's any better. I'm just saying, you know, anything to stop us from going into full-fledged 20-year endless war in the Middle East again. I don't think we can take it anymore. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.